everybody. I'm Shaya. I'm the director of the Live Music Project, and I am so excited to welcome you here today. There's this smile that's like plastered across my face that it might just be there all night. So just know that that's happening because of you. The smile is there because of you, and I'm just so glad that you're here. The evening, which I will describe in a moment, is going to be co-emceed by myself, Shaya, and Kevin Clark, who's on the board of directors for the Live Music Project. Kevin, want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. I'm excited and thrilled that you're all here to celebrate the Live Music Project's birthday.
Live Music Project, some of you may be familiar with it. For some of you, this may be the first time you're hearing about it. It's an arts access organization based in Seattle, Washington, and we work to boost the efforts and the resources of artists and arts organizations across the country. Tonight we're celebrating the 6th birthday of this organization. It started in 2014, and the evening is going to be all live streamed. Everyone is tuning in from their own home in Washington. We're going to kick off with at 7:05 at a talk from Arborists, Katie and Katherine. We're going to go to Intermission at 7:45. That's a 15-minute break. At about 8 o'clock, we're going to have yoga for 15 minutes. 8:30, a cello performance by Kymani Thomas, and then we'll wrap up around 9 o'clock. And along the way, there'll be videos and nostalgic slideshows and fundraising activities, and of course, the famous cupcake toast.
Shaya, why don't we tell everyone a little bit about the Live Music Project's programs and what we're all here to accomplish as an organization? Can you tell us a little bit about how the concert calendar works and how it's expanded to cover live streams in this bizarre time we find ourselves living in?
Sure. So since the beginning of LMP time, we've had a concert calendar for classical and contemporary classical performances in Seattle and Puget Sound, and it's been pretty geographically limited in that way. And in March, we quickly realized that in order to continue doing what we do, which is to connect people with live music wherever they can connect with it, once concert halls closed, we realized there were other ways to connect people with live music, and now those were no longer geographically limited. So we quickly opened up the calendar to live streams in Washington and in the United States and everywhere around the world.
It's been great to see the growth of our platform and our community. One of the things I love so much about Live Music Project is that you've personally worked so hard over all these years to not just build technology, but to build community and to really connect people in a meaningful way. One of our other awesome programs is Donation Dots, and I know from the YouTube chat that I was watching just a little while ago that we've got our original prototype builder in the chat. Nikki, she's with us tonight. Can you tell us a little bit about what Donation Dots is?
Okay, so Dots is a platform that helps organizations that are trying to fundraise and have larger goals break down those goals into smaller pieces. So in that way, it's familiar as a crowdfunding type of tool. But what it also does is it allows you to sort of display your dots, which are the individual crowdfund pieces, in a way that represents the art that you're doing. So for example, our fundraiser today, if you look on a desktop computer, has those dots laid out as the letters LMP. If you're an orchestra, you could lay those out as where all the musicians are sitting on the stage. And so you could sort of see an orchestra laid out on the stage, and people can sponsor those individual instrument dots. Recently we have someone fundraising sort of through a concert series, and they have embedded the performances on that page, and they've laid out their dots as the audience seating, so the audience can sort of buy or sponsor a seat. So it's a flexible tool that helps people connect to the art that you're doing in a way that also makes it easier and hopefully more fun to fundraise.
It's a very cool tool, and thanks, Nikki, for getting us started with that. There's another program I wanted to give everyone a little bit of information about, and that's Spontaneous Free Tickets, which has been really influential in connecting audiences to new arts experiences here in Puget Sound. Can you talk a little bit about that and where it is at the moment?
Yes, so Spontaneous Free Tickets is one of those ideas that blooms radically from a tiny nugget of a plan into a massive reach. Spontaneous Free Tickets is a program that allows performing arts organizations currently in Puget Sound to donate tickets for us to then redistribute into the community to a pool of people who have indicated interest in attending concerts for all different reasons. What this does is it helps people who have any sort of barrier to attending a performance, whether it's financial or let's say they're just not sure about the type of music and they want to try it out, but they're nervous. It helps them over that. It helps them over that hurdle as well. And then for this season, we received over $45,000 in ticket contributions for local organizations, which is, to me, staggering for a program that's just a few years old. Right now, that program is on hold. It's hibernating like a cozy bear, like so many things that we love right now. And we're hoping it'll come back as soon as possible.
One of my favorite things about that program is your emphasis on getting people over the artistic risk, the engagement risk, how welcome they might feel at a concert, and really understanding that barrier that keeps so many people from taking that plunge and trying out something new. I think that understanding is one of the great gifts you bring to classical music as a whole. As the board member for Live Music Project, this is the part where I'm just going to talk a little bit about why I love the organization and why I'm proud to support it and why I want you all to join me in that support. The t-shirt that we have for Live Music Project says that access to the arts begins with access to information about the arts. And that's especially true for classical music. We have so many rich organizations that make such amazing things that move people so deeply. And it's often hard for folks to find their first way into their first concert, to feel welcome to come, or to find out when pieces that they want to hear are being performed. And Live Music Project has done such a tremendous job in Puget Sound, and now nationally and worldwide, in helping people get over that hump, in finding those connections, and in taking that first step into a new artistic experience, which, as we're all stuck without access to the kind of culture that we use to keep ourselves who we are, we need more than ever. I believe in this organization very deeply, and I hope you'll join me in supporting it. As you can see from the Live Music Project fundraiser on Datza, we are now at $3,900 and $40. I'm just going to say dollars twice. I don't know. I get nervous. On our Datza fundraiser for the birthday party today. When you hear me say that, the number might be higher because we have about a 30-second delay between what we are seeing on the broadcast side and what you're seeing on YouTube stream. So I urge you to make my readouts of our fundraising total over the course of the evening as wrong as you possibly can by the time they reach your ears. And there's a link in the description to get to that, the YouTube description to get to the fundraiser if you don't have that link. And do please refresh the page before you make a donation, because that'll give you the fresh total, and that'll also help you see what dots are really ready to go. I tried to make a shape with my dots. You can try the same if there are any opportunities left to make the shape that you want. And I'm going to pass it back to Shaya to introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Kevin. I will add, before I introduce the speakers, I'll add one more thing, and that is on YouTube, there's a chat. It's a live chat. Please do drop in any questions you have about the upcoming talk or about Live Music Project. We'll get to those if we can throughout the evening. Feel free to say hello. We'll definitely catch up with all of those chats throughout the evening or later if we can. And that's how we see you. You see us tonight, but that chat is how we get to see you. So please say hello. Okay, we'll just jump right into it. I want to introduce Katherine and Katie. They are senior consulting arborists at Tree Solutions in Seattle. They're going to give a really cool talk, but I'm just going to let them do it. So over to you, Katie and Katherine.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Shaya, and the whole team for organizing this evening and inviting us to participate. Katie and I feel really honored to be here. So tonight we're going to try and make this engaging and fun, and not quite like that webinar you had to take on how to remotely enter a purchase order. So hopefully we were able to do that. So we're here tonight to talk about trees and senses, but just a little housekeeping first. Katie and I have put together a list of references and resources, including books, articles, videos, and podcasts that explain the topics we're discussing today. The document will be posted on the Tree Solutions Inc. Facebook page, which is linked to in the YouTube event description. So please visit our page and download that list. There's some really great resources in there. So, all right, let's get started. We should probably let everybody know what we do as consulting arborists because we may not be the arborists you typically think of. So, Katie, let us know what you do.
Well, Katherine, I worked with you last time I checked, and really somebody should pay me just for that.
Oh, man.
So an analogy that works for describing what Katherine and I do is the difference between a tree doctor versus a tree surgeon. So a tree surgeon is probably the arborist that you see most of the time. They're highly skilled, and they climb trees to remove or prune trees. A tree doctor, on the other hand, helps to diagnose what insects or diseases might be affecting trees and helps to prescribe a plan for improving tree health. We also do risk assessments to determine if a tree is safe.
But Katie, you don't have a PhD, do you?
Well, not yet, okay, or probably ever, but that's because I already have too much student debt. So we also get to help homeowners decide how to best manage their trees. We get to play with fun toys that help us see what's going on inside of a tree, like sonic tomography or microresistance drill testing. But that could be a whole talk in and of itself, so we won't get into that too much today. So let's go ahead and get the slideshow rolling. We have some photographs that we put together for you guys that we want to share with you.
So Katie and I both work at Tree Solutions here in Seattle, as Shaya said. Our company has been around for about 20 years, and Tree Solutions is unique in the Seattle region as we only offer consulting services, and we have a lot of advanced testing capabilities that let us provide a really thorough analysis. I think I can speak for both Katie and I when I say we feel really lucky to be working with such a great group of dedicated plant nerds. That said, Katie and I can't really do a talk without including our sales pitch for trees and the urban forest, so here it goes.
So what is a tree anyway, and why do people get so excited about trees? If we were doing this in person, we would make you guys in the audience answer that question, but in light of a global pandemic, we'll give you guys a pass this time. In the simplest definition, a tree is a highly complex, long-lived woody plant. It's made up of a root system, a trunk, branches, foliage, flowers, and fruit. Trees get their energy from sunlight, where they transform this light into usable energy that they convert to food, which they either use up right away or they store for later. Trees are actually very good at hoarding food, like a lot of us. Trees can also live for thousands of years, and we have an example of one of these amazing ancient trees that we'll show you guys in a bit.
And trees do a lot of things. In fact, we rely on them to survive. I mean, who hasn't overbought toilet paper in the last month? I know you guys are out there. Trees also provide us with food and furniture, among other things, and they perform important ecosystem services like filtering and capturing air pollutants, helping to slow and filter stormwater, creating shade and regulating air temperature, and providing wildlife habitat. Trees even increase happiness and well-being. Have you heard of forest bathing?
Well, actually, Katherine, I was just forest bathing earlier today.
Nice. In addition, the money that is made on all the products produced from trees, the ecosystem services save us an enormous amount of money on energy bills, water management systems, and even on medical bills. Check out a local report called Seattle's Forest Ecosystem Values for more information. You can find a link to that in our resources page that I mentioned earlier. Now that you are all devotees of trees, let's ask the question we are here for. Do plants share any of the same characteristics that we have? Can they see, hear, feel, smell, or taste?
Well, to start, trees don't have organs like humans do, such as eyes, ears, noses, or even a nervous system at all.
But Katie, doesn't this illustration show that they have ears and noses?
Well, Katherine, you remember Klaus Matic, an eccentric pioneer in the world of biology and tree anatomy? This picture of him here shows us a little bit of a glimpse into his wild character. He created this illustration on the right starring this cute little hedgehog here named Stoopsy to show how arborists use the term nose or ears when referring to structural defects in trees, but they aren't actually noses or ears at all. However, they are an example of how trees can grow new tissue around a defect and try to reinforce that area.
So while trees may not have human-like organs, they certainly do have a complex network that allows them to respond and adapt to their environments, including potential threats. They have to be extremely good at protecting themselves because they can't run away from their attacker or leave a poor environment like we can.
I love this example shown here because it really disrupts the way that we think about trees. We have a cross section of a tree that's only a little bit larger than the size of a nickel. And most people would think that this is a pretty young tree, maybe only a few years old. But in fact, the rings on this tree were counted, and it's actually 103 years old. So this is one of our favorite native trees, actually, Douglas fir. This scenario happens when trees can't see light or get the nutrients they need to grow. And it happens a lot in forests when other more dominant trees are surrounding them. So they lack vigor, they often grow a bit distorted, or they don't grow very quickly. We call these trees suppressed. A suppressed tree may survive for a really long time, like this little Douglas fir did, and they may even grow into a large tree eventually if one or more of their neighbors falls over and they gain access to that delicious sunlight. Trees are highly adaptable organisms that are actually very aware of their surroundings. This is also a perfect example of why we should think twice before cutting down a small tree for firewood, because it may very well be older than you.
But a campfire sounds kind of nice. Hopefully we can get out to do that again soon. Well, speaking of suppressed trees waiting for delicious sunlight, let's explore how trees see their environment. While there is no evidence that plants have eyes or see in pictures like we do, we know that trees respond to light in many ways, and in fact, they can see color. Humans and plants have photoreceptors to see light. We have 4 photoreceptors in our eyes that distinguish light and shadows, as well as blue, red, and green light. We also have a 5th photoreceptor that regulates our internal clock. Plants have many more photoreceptors than humans do, closer to 11 or 12, which tell a plant where the light is, how dim the light is, and what color the light is. This information tells a plant when to do things like bend, germinate, flower, and go dormant.
Doesn't light also play an important role in producing food for trees?
Yeah, you're probably thinking of that lesson you learned in grade school about photosynthesis. It's the process by which plants use light to turn water and carbon dioxide into sugars and oxygen. The sugars are food and building materials for the tree. Those sugars are also turned into food for us and other animals.
Speaking of sugar, how do we get our hands on some of those delicious cupcakes the crew at LMP baked for the fundraiser? Also, on that note, don't forget to make a donation. Their fundraising page will be open for a few more hours.
That's true. Let's get the LMP to their fundraising goal tonight. The link to the fundraising page is in the event description on YouTube. So back to trees. They also respond to light by growing towards or away from it. This is called phototropism, and it is known to primarily be a response to blue light, which activates a plant hormone called auxin. The word phototropism means toward light. However, phototropism can be positive or negative, meaning that the plant either grows away or toward the light.
So, Katherine, when do we see examples of negative phototropism?
That's a good question, sorry. Well, we have all seen our houseplants growing toward the window, like my little geranium in the photo on the left. We don't often think about plants growing away from the light. A good example is a vine. Their tips need to be able to grow away from the light in order to wrap around a trellis or into a crack in a wall to anchor themselves. In most plants, however, the above ground parts of the plant grow toward the light and the roots grow away from the light.
Take a look at our native Pacific madrone tree here. It's on the right of this slide. It's a great example of how plants see and respond to their surroundings. In this photo, we have a madrone tree that is reaching the top of its trunk toward the sunlight, causing it to grow completely slanted. This may seem odd, but it's actually a completely natural growth form for this species because they love sunlight.
Next, we have an example from right outside my front door. These are before and after photos of an ash tree that was growing below a grove of elm trees that eventually died of Dutch elm disease. You can see the elm trees are pointed out by the red arrow in the photo on the left, and in the photo on the right, you can see that they're no longer there. The ash tree was struggling to peek out from under the canopy, and as a result, it contorted its trunk to bend over the street. Now that the ash finally has some access to sunlight, new upright branches are growing along the top side of the trunk where there weren't any branches at all before.
So just because trees are growing all cattywampus doesn't necessarily mean they are unstable. They have adapted to grow this way so they can access more sunlight and in turn make more food for themselves.
Plants also experience a phenomenon called photoperiodism, which is a tree's response to the length of daylight that they are exposed to.
Well, actually, Katherine, since first discovering photoperiodism, scientists have found that plants are responding to the length of night rather than the length of daylight, but they already named it and it stuck.
You got me, Katie. So photoperiodism plays a role in flowering and dormancy. You know those flowers we love to buy for certain holidays? Well, nurseries force those plants to flower by artificially altering their daylight hours. For example, poinsettias need 14 hours of total darkness every day to get those beautiful red bracts, while irises can be induced to flower by interrupting the night with just a flash of red light. In trees, as day lengths get shorter, or I should say nights get longer, it signals that it is time for the tree to make changes to survive through the winter by going into dormancy. This causes leaves to change color and drop, buds to go dormant, and for the plant to produce sugars and amino acids that protect tissues from freezing during winter. Likewise, as the night gets shorter again and the days get longer, the tree is signaled to start breaking bud and putting on new leaves, which is where we're at right now, in spring. I hope everybody has been taking a little time to enjoy the longer days and feel that warm weather.
I know I've been feeling the warm weather, but Katherine, are the trees, do they actually feel?
Well, one of my favorite tree marvels is called thigmomorphogenesis. It's quite the mouthful. Can you say it 10 times?
I'm not sure about that, but I'll give it a try. Thigmomorphogenesis, 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 thigmomorphogenesis.
You're getting better at it every time you do it, though. Thigmomorphogenesis is how trees respond to mechanical stimulation. It causes them to exhibit different growth patterns than they would otherwise. Mechanical stressors can be events like wind or constant forces like gravity. Even animals rubbing against the trees can cause them to respond with abnormal growth.
And you have probably all seen this when you visit the coastline. Like in the photos here, the trees stop growing vertically due to strong winds, and instead they invest their energy in putting on trunk girth to reinforce their stems so that they don't fall over. The canopies can become windswept or one-sided away from the wind direction, and their foliage actually becomes smaller. The photo on the left here are Douglas fir trees that are typically massive trees that can grow to over 200 feet tall, but because of the constant wind, they're growing stunted.
Another word for this type of thigmomorphosis is crumholes form. You've probably also seen this in high elevation environments when out hiking. Trees will appear to be growing almost parallel to the ground. In German, krumm means crooked, bent, or twisted, and holes means wood. A common example of thigmomorphogenesis in the urban environment can be seen when trees are staked. Trees that are staked too tightly for too long tend to grow smaller root systems and skinnier trunks. They sort of end up looking the way my leg did after I broke it, and it was in a brace for 8 weeks, so it was not a pretty sight. This form makes the trees more susceptible to stem breakage and uprooting during weather events. Like in the photo, the poor oak tree on the left broke after apparently just one big wind gust. Urban trees are less protected than ones in forested conditions, and therefore it's important for them to sway in the wind so that they develop thicker trunks and broader root systems that provide stability.
That doesn't mean that staking trees should never be done. It can be really important in heavily used areas. However, if you leave it on too long, you will likely have problems not only with stem and root development, but you'll also have girdling, like with this poor maple tree on the right.
So the lesson is never stake a tree for more than one growing season.
All right then, well, how does this type of movement differ from that of a Venus flytrap that feels a fly land on it and instantly snaps closed?
Well, that's a good question, and there is a word for that type of movement too. It's called nastic movement. This is a rapid movement that occurs when a plant feels stimulation. It doesn't change the growth form of the plant like thigmomorphogenesis does. It's triggering a mousetrap to snap closed, whereas thigmomorphogenesis occurs slowly over years, even centuries.
So if the plant feels stimulation, does this all mean that trees actually feel the way humans do then?
Well, trees don't feel pain like a human does, but they do respond to physical injury. For example, when a tree is wounded, they respond by creating barriers and growing new tissue. A tree's response to wounding is very important for arborists to understand. This concept is called compartmentalization of decay in trees, or for short, CODIT. CODIT helps us to think about decay and structural stability in trees. There are 4 kinds of barrier walls that attempt to box in the decay so that it does not spread and the tree remains structurally stable.
Check out the photo here with my hand in it. This ring of callus wood that's developed around the wound, this is CODIT in action, and it shows how wall 4 develops. This reaction wood is the strongest mechanism when it comes to limiting the spread of decay.
Wall 4 is also an example of how trees grow new tissue over top of wounds, which is different from the way we grow tissue. We grow new cells where old cells were, like when you skin your knee and it heals over time, sometimes not even leaving a scar. Whereas if you drill a hole in a tree, that hole will always be there. New tissue might grow outside of the hole and eventually seal it over so that you can't see it, but the wound never heals, so to speak. Okay, so now that we know that trees in their own way can see and feel, can they smell and taste? Humans have very specific organs that allow us to enjoy the fresh smells of spring and taste the flavors we cook. And plants certainly don't have those organs, do they, Katie?
You're right, Katherine, but there are studies that indicate that trees can, in fact, sense their environment through smell and react accordingly. For example, if a tree is under a threat, such as a bark beetle attack, it will produce volatile chemicals that alert neighboring trees, and these neighboring trees then beef up their chemical defenses to produce resin, otherwise known as sap, to push out these pesky beetles. Bark beetles, like the mountain pine beetle that impacts forests in our region, used to be an essential component of native forests. They would kill off diseased or dying trees to allow for new tree regeneration. Since the climate has started warming...
Wait, Katie. Are you telling us that this is not an introduced species of beetle? It is not an insect we inadvertently imported in a shipment of lumber or furniture or something? Because that actually sounds sort of like bronze birch borer that is killing birch trees here in Seattle.
That's a really good point, Katherine, and you're exactly right. With the climate warming, it's led to drought conditions and shorter winters, and even the healthiest of trees no longer have enough water stored to push out these insects. So another way to think about it is that the trees are dehydrated, which is never a good thing whether you're a human or a tree.
So does that mean the trees are intentionally being good neighbors by letting other trees know about the beetles?
Another great question, and one that is highly disputed by scientists. Some think that the chemical release is not altruistic, meaning that the tree is only releasing those chemicals to protect itself. For example, they alert the very top of the tree where the beetles haven't infested yet to be ready, while others think there's a communication network that occurs between separate trees.
Right, and now there's a new study done by a researcher at the University of Alberta who has discovered some new information about this. They found that when lodgepole pines are being attacked by beetles, they release a volatile chemical from their foliage called a monoterpene. Monoterpenes are everywhere, and if you've ever squeezed an orange and gotten that mist from the rind in your eye, that's a monoterpene, and there's tens of thousands of varieties.
And what's even more fascinating is it turns out that these monoterpenes, which are released when the tree is attacked, only triggered responses in trees that were quote-unquote relatives. So grandma tree, mama tree, daughter tree, and sister tree got the warning, but daughter's boyfriend did not.
Although the boyfriend not getting the warning might have been on purpose, because I heard that guy was a bit of a louse.
That is very possible. So what all of this is showing is that trees that were not related to the attacked tree showed no protective response. There's currently a lot of research happening around how trees are interconnected, advancing our understanding of these processes. So we can expect many new and exciting developments on how trees smell in the future. Like smell, taste is also highly subjective. Here in Seattle, we have a native tree that does a fascinating process, which could be interpreted as taste. A recent study out of Oregon State University explains how red alder trees are said to eat rocks. But is this really tasting, or is this an evolutionary trait that supports tree survival?
Alders have a taste for rocks, do they? Like it's like a certain kind of preference or something?
Well, that's highly doubtful, but it's certainly an amazing trait. We've known about how trees can fix nitrogen from the atmosphere for years, allowing them to gain access to these crucial nutrients that help them as well as their neighbors grow. But this discovery of tapping into rocks is an exciting development. Everyone's probably heard of symbiotic relationships, like those teeny little cleaner fish that eat parasites off whales and sharks. It's a win-win situation. Well, alder trees have a similar relationship with these little bacteria that grow on their roots. This recent study of alder trees eating rocks found that red alders are actually tapping into nutrients that reside in bedrock. So how are they doing this? Red alders have a special symbiotic relationship with nitrogen-fixing bacteria on their roots. And these little nodules of bacteria release nitrogen into the soil, which generates acidity and speeds up the dissolution of rock, making rock-derived nutrients available to trees. It works great for both parties because the bacteria also get access to nutrients that the tree sends down through its roots.
I thought all those old foresters still referred to red alder as garbage trees. These don't sound like garbage trees at all.
Well, some foresters still behave that way. However, times have changed, and scientists now have a better understanding of the crucial role these trees play in creating a sustainable forest. They're essential because they can grow in really heavily disturbed areas with poor soils that a lot of other tree species can't grow in, and they add and unlock these hard-to-reach nutrients. These nutrients are then soaked up by the rest of the trees and plants in the forest so that they can grow and flourish. As for whether the trees are actually tasting the rocks, it's highly debatable whether trees have any sort of intelligence like humans, so it's pretty unlikely, but most studies show that even if they did, it's not the type of intelligence we think of with humans, since trees don't have brains.
Well, we can't do a talk for the live music project without talking about hearing and communication. So do trees hear?
Well, there was that one time that I tried to talk to a tree and it didn't respond, so...
Did you hear, Phil? Or did you feel heard, though? Because sometimes that's enough, right? Anyway, hearing is a tough one for plants. There's been a lot of theorizing and experimenting, but not a whole lot of strong evidence. In fact, even Darwin did an experiment and gave up on the idea that plants hear.
Right, and there was that one lady in the 60s, Mrs. Dorothy Redelac, who wrote a book called The Sound of Music and Plants. The basic premise was that classical music was beneficial for plants, while rock music was harmful. She may have felt rock and roll was also bad for her sons and daughters, which could explain a few biases. So after exposing a variety of plants to Bach and Hendrix, among others, she noted that the plants exposed to classical music thrived, while those exposed to rock and roll were wilted and stunted. It turns out there were many holes in her experiment, which Dr. Linda Chalker-Scott addresses in one of her horticultural myth articles. So, fortunately for those of us that enjoy a little bit of Hendrix, along with a little plant hoarding, Catherine's 86 houseplants, her work was never proven.
It's true. I do have a lot of houseplants. Anyway, around the same time, artists began making records for plants. One is called Plantasia by Mort Garson, and it includes some really super trippy tracks like Symphony for a Spider Plant and A Mellow Mood for Maidenhair. Even Stevie Wonder got into the game and made an album called Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants. I believe the LMP folks have provided you with a link to some of the Mort Garson music on YouTube. Katie, have you ever played anything for your plants?
Well, I did try serenading them with a little bit of Iron Maiden, but I don't think they liked it, and it turns out they are going through a huge Kenny G phase right now, so...
Nice. Well, in all seriousness, there's not much evidence that plants respond to noises or music in general. However, there is some evidence that they respond to what are called ecologically relevant sounds. So researchers at the University of Missouri found that when they played recordings of munching noises or chewing vibrations produced by caterpillars, it caused plants to flood their leaves with chemical defenses designed to ward off the attackers. Those same trees, however, would not release those defenses or have any type of reaction when exposed to, say, loud banging noises.
If plants don't hear sounds or only have selective hearing, do they make sounds then?
Well, we've all spent time in forests listening to the rustling of leaves and the creaking of branches, but it does turn out that internal processes of trees can make sounds too, although ones that humans can't necessarily hear. A study done by scientists from Grenoble University in France recorded ultrasonic sounds made by trees. The scientists had a theory that this was related to a process called cavitation. Cavitation is essentially an air embolism in the vascular tissue of trees. Because of a tree's height, there's quite a bit of pressure built up in the vascular system as the tree transpires. Under normal conditions, the attractive forces between water molecules keep the water column intact. However, under drought conditions, the pressure can cause a break in the water column, creating water bubbles that block the water flow.
So you're saying that a big air bubble forms in the vascular system, stopping the flow of water?
Almost. It's not so much one big air bubble because there are many tubes that transport water in the vascular system, but many little air bubbles throughout the vascular system. So trees can survive and even repair a certain amount of cavitation. However, if it's extensive enough, everything beyond the bubbles will die. So to prove that the sound being recorded was from cavitation, the French team of scientists put a thin slice of pine wood, although I would argue it was fur from the video, but we won't go into that.
Details.
Right? So pine wood, they put a thin slice of pine wood into liquid-filled gel capsules that mimicked conditions inside of a living tree, and then they allowed it to evaporate. During the process, they filmed and recorded the bubbles forming and concluded the sounds were recorded were indeed from cavitation. You can actually see a really great video on YouTube, and that is also linked on the resource page that is on the Tree Solutions Facebook page.
And unfortunately, here in the Pacific Northwest, we have seen more and more canopy decline in our native conifers due to drought. This photo here is an example of a cluster of young cedar trees that have dead tops, likely in part due to drought-induced cavitation. You can see examples of this as you drive along the I-90 corridor.
Some good news, though, is the French team thinks that this finding could lead to creating a handheld microphone device to help identify early signs of drought stress, so those trees could potentially be managed before the drought kills them. Also, some think that these sounds, which are at a frequency that can be detected by insects, may communicate stress and therefore attract insects to those plants.
Ooh, maybe we should try and convince some researchers at the University of Washington to take a look at our poor birch trees. I'm sure some of you have noticed all of the birch trees dying throughout the city. Well, they continue to be attacked by an insect called bronze birch borer, and the attack is mostly due to increased stress. I wonder if the birches are inadvertently making a call to the beetles shouting, "Defenses down, open for business."
Last but not least, we have to mention communication. Most of our senses in some way or another play a role in communication. So do trees communicate? We sort of touched on this earlier when discussing smell. Remember those pines that release the monoterpenes, which signal other parts of themselves or other trees to release chemical defenses? Well, trees also communicate through the wood wide web.
Wait, Katherine, did you just say the wood wide web?
I sure did. Trees communicate underground through a network of biological pathways. Dr. Suzanne Smard, a Canadian, is one of the leading scientists studying tree communication, and her research has helped discover the ways in which trees send resources and signals to one another. The Wood Wide Web is actually an example of another symbiotic relationship called mycorrhizae, this time between tree roots and fungi. Mycorrhizae literally means fungus root. For this relationship to happen, mycelium, the vegetative part of the fungus, penetrate and live on the surface of tree roots, expanding the tree's reach and size of the root system. The basic symbiotic function between the two organisms is an exchange of goods. The fungi get sugars from the tree, and in turn, the tree gets vastly increased access to water and mineral nutrients from the fungi. In fact, like the bacterial nodules Katie discussed earlier, some types of mycelium also release acidic compounds into the soil to dissolve minerals into soluble forms. And not only that, but these fungi, somewhat gruesomely actually, can infect the bodies of this cute little insect called a springtail, paralyzing them and then slowly scavenging the nitrogen from their bodies.
Ooh, that is very gross, and I'm so glad I'm not a springtail.
The exchange of goods goes far beyond the individual tree and fungal organism. Mycorrhizae have been found to connect hundreds of individual trees, including trees of different species. This allows them to distribute resources like sugars, nitrogen, and phosphorus back and forth between one another.
And interestingly enough, Dr. Samard also found in one of her early experiments that birch and Douglas fir trees sent each other different quantities of resources depending on the time of the year. For example, the Douglas fir sent the birch tree more carbon during the winter when the birch had no leaves to produce food for itself, while the birch tree returned the favor and sent the Douglas fir more carbon in the summer, especially when the fir tree was growing under shaded conditions.
Another fascinating aspect of the network is that some trees are what are called hub trees or mother trees. These tend to be the larger, older trees that nurture young trees and seedlings growing in the understory. Dr. Samard also discovered that these mother trees favor sending carbon to and expanding the mycorrhizal network of their offspring.
Oh, so that's kind of like the lodgepole pine warnings we discussed earlier, only being detected by their relatives.
Yeah, and on that note, trees under attack, like those lodgepole pines, when they're under attack by diseases or insects, they send messages through the wood wide web to tell others to raise their chemical defenses too.
Well, this is certainly an exciting area of study to be a study in tree and forest research, and there's still so much to learn. We've linked you to a TED Talk by Dr. Suzanne Samard on our resources page that is definitely worth a watch. Okay, everyone, we did promise you an example of an ancient tree. This tree is native to California and lives on very tall mountaintops. It is the one and only ancient bristlecone pine. Definitely remember this because it's sure to pop up on your next trivia night. So the oldest known specimen is nearly 5,000 years old, which, to put that into a little bit of context, predates the Roman Empire. I personally have a hard time even fathoming that amount of time. So living for that long, these trees have to learn to adapt to their environment. You can see in the photo that the tree actually looks like it's almost dead, but it's very much alive. I would highly recommend forest bathing in the White Mountains amongst the bristlecone pines. Just make sure you bring your sunscreen. It's pretty hot up there.
I always like to take a little moment to remind folks that not only are trees complex and long-lived like these bristlecone pines, but they're slow-growing too. And because of that, we cannot replace most large trees in our lifetimes. And this is not just the magnificent Douglas fir trees in our forests, but the old firs, the cedars, the oaks, the maples in our city too. I find thinking about that kind of humbling, that the large trees I enjoy, especially in the city, were often planted by someone or started to grow before I was even alive. It's something to think about when considering how we manage trees in our landscape.
Very true, Katherine. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We've had a lot of fun, and we hope you guys did too. Please check out the Tree Solutions Facebook page for resources. One of the links that you'll see there is for a TED Talk by Dr. Nalini Nadkarni, who is an amazing and local scientist that studies tree canopies. And she just so happens to have her own Barbie if you're looking for a great gift for an aspiring young scientist.
Okay, I think we have some time for questions. Is that right, Shaya?
That's right, said that guy who's not Shaya. There's a little time for questions. And I'm going to ask you the first question we had submitted right now, which is, do you encounter bats in your work?
Ooh, I never have. Have you?
No, I have not either. We don't work a lot at night. They're pretty...
I went on a really cool bat walk at Seward Park with the Seattle Audubon Society, and so I really recommend people do that. It's at dusk, but I haven't seen any at night, or sorry, seen any in our work.
During the day. Yeah, maybe arborists that are climbing trees a lot might see some nests, if there was good habitat for them, but I have not.
Are there other organisms that you encounter living in trees, birds, or anything else?
Bees.
Yeah, I really hope those giant hornets don't come down here because we'll be really hurting, I think. Lots of squirrels. You see lots of squirrel nests. They kind of look like these raggedy little nests with a bunch of leaves that are kind of hodgepodge together. So if you see that, that's a squirrel nest. Raccoons, actually. We've climbed trees before, and we have these big soil probes that we like to put into cavities to see how deep they are. And actually, the owner of our company, one time, he was up there climbing a tree, and he just pokes the rod into the cavity, and there's actually a whole family of little raccoons living there. So they were not very happy about that.
I've definitely dodged a lot of raccoon poop when climbing a tree, but I never saw it happen.
But mostly birds and little critters, lots of crow's nests, robin nests, nothing too out of the ordinary in Seattle.
That's awesome. What signs should we look for in the trees in our neighborhood that might indicate they are having problems?
Catherine, you want to take this one?
Sure. Well, you might see a little bit of off color. First, you'd probably see some sort of grayish green looking leaves. You might see a little bit of wilting. You might see the trees just generally thinning out a little bit, and then you might start to see dead leaves or something. If you're looking at the base of the tree, you might see some conchs, but trees can live for a really long time with fungal decays. So that if you see a mushroom on the ground or a mushroom attached to the tree, it doesn't necessarily mean that that tree is an immediate risk or it's going to die tomorrow. It's just part of the ecosystem of the tree. So certainly those kinds of trees are ones we want to keep an eye on. But
and another thing, we talked about how trees, they grow toward light, and a lot of times they'll have a natural lean, but there is also an unnatural lean. So if you do see that your tree all of a sudden is leaning, you can go look at the base and see if there's cracks in the soil or if the soil is heaving at all, and that would be a cause for concern that you might want to have a professional out to take a closer look at the tree.
Yeah.
Lastly, thank you for giving us such a wonderful talk. This has been great. I've really learned a lot, and I know a lot of our audience has as well. So a last question, what's been your craziest experience at your job so far?
Oh man, that's a tough one. You know what? I work on a lot of construction sites doing tree protection, and it's just meeting the characters that are on those sites. You get everybody from like really friendly, happy people to kind of some crazy types. So I think that's been kind of a wild ride for me. A lot of ups and downs on those sites.
A lot of personalities that you have to kind of learn to work around. And, I think we do sometimes get to do fun jobs like riding zipline courses or looking at tree houses. Yeah. So I think that's kind of an exciting part of our job that we all love, kind of seeing the forest canopy, being in the forest canopy. We've seen people move entire trees that are like 30-inch diameter, or maybe not 30-inch diameter, but very large mature trees that are really tall. And, sometimes really wealthy people want big trees right away. So they'll actually like ship them on a barge across Lake Washington to install them onto their properties. And sadly, a lot of them ended up dying anyway, but, the effort was there.
Yeah. Well, there's that one time, too, that you and I were doing that fire survey in Twisp, and we had to traverse a little portion of the river that we were by. It was kind of fun.
River crossings.
Mm-hmm. With all our paperwork and computers.
You had to ford a river like Oregon Trail?
We did, yes. And we didn't want to drop the expensive equipment, so instead we decided to throw it across the river, which hopefully our bosses aren't listening right now, but
it worked out okay. It worked out.
It seemed like the best decision at the time.
Never question the decisions made by the team on the ground.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's a wonderful way to end this portion of our evening. Thank you again for such a brilliant talk and for spending this time with us.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Shaya, I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Katie, and thank you, Catherine. And if there's anyone else here with the name that starts with K, thank you as well. We appreciate you so much. We are about to go to intermission till 8 o'clock. That's 8 o'clock Pacific time, where it's still light, amazingly. This is a good time to get a snack and put on comfy clothes for yoga, because when we come back at 8, we are going to have a 15-minute yoga session with Datza. And that's just connected to our whole theme of getting grounded and rooted so we can come out of this crazy year, but really any year, really strong and feeling steady and ready to go. In the meantime, we're going to play a silent highlight reel from the last 6 years of live music project events and volunteer activities. So go refresh yourselves, get into comfy clothes. Check out the Datza Yoga Spotify link that's in the description of this YouTube video so you can get ready to press play on that as soon as yoga begins at 8. We will see you soon. Hello, welcome back from intermission. I hope you all waited in really long lines. I mean, didn't wait in really long lines for the bathroom and just had the best time bumping into friends in the kitchen, maybe your hallway, wherever you are tonight. Hope you enjoyed those moments from our past. I just want to give a quick intro to Datza, who runs a yoga studio in my neighborhood. She, with like the snap of a finger, somehow managed to turn her entire studio into an online yoga studio when she had to close the doors to the public. And it's been an incredible lifeline for people in our community who need a way to connect physically with their own space in the situation that we're in. So thank you so much, Datza, for joining us tonight. Those of you who are interested, please click on the Spotify link that's in the YouTube description. That'll take you to the music that you're going to hear during Datza's session today. Datza, all yours.
Life. It's going to be interesting because usually we teach classes and we see our little students on opposite side, but I don't see you, I'm just going to trust you. So my idea was like 15 minutes of stretching, moving, feeling good in order to elevate higher, vibe higher, connect to those higher frequencies so you can listen to the music right after, and how maybe different senses which are going to open up throughout this practice and get you ready in a different place, take you to the different zone. So 15 minutes, start standing. I want you to bring your feet a little wider than your hips. Get nice and comfortable. Bring your arms by your side. Imagine your feet is like those strong roots rooting into the earth, just like those trees. How roots you, how roots, it's your feet, it's your legs. Bring your arms by your side and just start opening and closing your fingers here. And then reach your arms all the way to the sky. And then slowly start bringing your arms by your side. You can bring your arms by your side and up. Start inhaling through the nose into your belly. Maybe close your eyes. As you exhale, draw your arms by your side. Keep opening and closing your fingers. 2 more times. Inhale, lift, lengthen, belly full with the life force, with your breath. Exhale, bringing your arms by your side. And then one more cozy one. Inhale, reach. Exhale, lower. And then close your eyes, reach your arms to the sky and hold. Feel that energy moving. Will you feel some kind of sensations in your fingers? Bring your feet all the way together. Bring your palms together and draw your hands to heart center. Keeping your eyes closed, reach your arms back to the sky. As you exhale, draw your hands to heart center. 2 more good ones. Lift, lengthen, root to rise. Come to your heart center, to your own true self. Then one more happy one. Reach up and hold and ask yourself, what are you reaching for this evening? Bring your palms together. Imagine you receiving what you're reaching for. Slowly draw your hands to heart center. Fill up your body with the feelings that everything is just perfectly perfect, even though nothing is perfect. Imagine your deepest desires becoming true right here, right now, at the moment. And then bring your feet back, hip width or even wider. Soften through the knees. Just start swinging side to side. Like little circles, get nice and cozy, especially if you've been sitting for a bit. Get in your hips, your spine, your shoulders. Allow yourself to feel good. Good. Don't overjudge here. Then you're going to lay your arm, you're going to reach your arms to the sky as you inhale. As you exhale, let go, stick the tongue, let it go. A few more times. Inhale, lift up to the sky. Let it go. Let's do 3 cozy ones. Let it go. That stagnant energy, press it out. One more good one. Inhale. Let it go. Stay where you are, bow into your heart. Hold opposite elbow with opposite hand. Allow your head to become heavy. Holding to nothing. Releasing what's not here to serve you. Embracing sweetness moment just as is. Breathing deep. Inhale. On exhale. Start swinging yourself side to side if you haven't yet. But at the same time, feel rooted, feel grounded through your feet. That is your first chakra. From the base of the spine, down to your legs, down to your feet. Color red. Release the fingers towards the floor and release slow. If your feet is not hip width, walk your feet hip width. And slowly root to rise. Nice and slow, vertebrae by vertebrae. Lighter, a little brighter, a little bit more present. Reach your arms back to the sky. And I want you to walk your feet pretty wide. So wider than your hips, heels in, toes out, and just squat down. Just squat down here. And then lean to your favorite side. Doesn't matter if it's right or left, just lean to one of the sides. Create some nice side body stretch. Circle out through the midline, lift up to the sky. As you exhale, take it to the opposite side. A few more times. Inhale, circle, lift. Exhale, one side. You choose which. Inhale, circle, and lift. Exhale, take it to the opposite side. Inhale, circle. And this time as you lean to one of the sides, bring opposite arm to your leg so you have a little support. You can always swing side to side or hold the stillness. You are your own human being. Accept what's going on. Adjust as you need to. And then slowly circle out, rise back to the sky. And then take it to the opposite side. Hopefully feel some new sensations in your hips. There's definitely space, but there's probably some heat involved too. And then circle out, rise up, extend the legs long. Bring your heels out, toes in, throw your arms behind you. Interlace the fingertips, so hug the elbows, lift your heart forward. And as you exhale, hinge forward. Holding forward, surrendering to the unknown. Shake out your head, yes and no. Draw your hands to your hips, up and the knees, slowly come all the way up to just like here. As you bring your heels and toes out again, bring your arms by your side, palms facing the sky, and take a little extension, so really pull your heart forward, butt cheeks back. As you exhale round and give yourselves the biggest hug in your lifetime. Again, inhale, open up through the heart center. Exhale, let it go. Just really warming up your spine. Inhale, open. Exhale, let it go. We'll do one more the same way. Inhale, open. Exhale, let it go. And then lengthen your spine, ears, shoulders, hips in line. Bring your arms by your side. Your palm's going to look to the sky. And then cross your arms so your right arm is under your left. Bend your elbows and you're in little eagle arms. Back up your palms or palms can touch. Settle into the moment. Drop your shoulders down. If this is not really serving you good, just give yourselves the biggest hug and it's going to be fine. Open up through the heart center. Exhale round through the spine. Now, what has changed? Inhale, open. Exhale, let it go. Beautiful. One more happy one. Inhale, open. And this time as you let go, hold. Embrace the space between your shoulder blades. Embrace that sense of freedom. Physically in your body, in your mind, and in your life. Unwind your arms, rise up to the sky, breath in. Exhale back in that little yogic squat or goddess pose. Bring your arms really wide. And then cross when your opposite arm is under. Bend your arms and you're back into eagle. Back up your palms or palms touch, shoulders soften. Remember that option, you can always give yourself a huge hug. Open up through the heart center, so energize through the back of your body. Exhale, round. Two more good ones. Inhale, open. Exhale, let go the stagnant energy. The layers which are not serving you anymore. Inhale. Exhale. Hold. Breathe. Don't think so much about shape. Breathe. Fresh dose of oxygen. And then slowly unwind, rise to the sky. We're going to play with some warrior and then finish up with a tree pose. Draw your hands to heart center. Bring your left toes 12, bend your leg and arms long. That is your warrior two. Inhale, rise to the sky. Bring your toes forward. And then taking a warrior two to opposite side. Again, inhale, squeeze your butt cheeks, rise towards the sky, toes forward. Exhale, one of the sides you choose. Inhale, reach to rise back to the sky. Exhale, take it to the opposite side. Loosening up through your own hips, inhale, reach. Exhale. Inhale, maybe close your eyes. Strong roots, exhale. Allow yourself just to be and feel the movement. Exhale. Inhale, reach. Exhale, opposite side. One more cozy one, inhale, reach. This time as you settle into warrior two, just hold here. Allow yourself to be. Strong roots, strong spine. Look to your middle finger and close your eyes. Soften into your shoulders. Feel your feet rooting into the earth. And imagine you're collecting ladybugs under your right foot, if your right leg is long. If the left leg is long, then left foot. So arch of your foot is really active. Breath in from the earth to the sky. Breath out from the sky to the earth. Inhale. Exhale. Open your eyes, extend both legs, reach up, starfish. Take it to warrior two to the opposite side. You want to see a big toe. If not, pull the knee away from the midline more. Settle in, look forward. And there's really nothing to see. Those are your fingers. You saw them earlier. Close your eyes. Instead of seeing and doing, allow yourself just feel. Universal intelligence just pulsing through you. Trust the wisdom of your own body. Soften into your heart. Those feelings, they're just passing through you. Life thrives on a change. Accept it. Open your eyes, reach up to the sky, happy starfish. And then walk your feet all the way together, or you can hop together, whatever serves you. We're going to move into the little tree pose. So pull your favorite leg right now to the chest. It doesn't matter right or left, you choose. I'm going to start with right. Even though I like my left foot too. Circle at your right foot. Just loosen up through the ankle joint. Trust your strong roots. And then bring one palm to your belly, one to your lower back. All the balance postures really require a lot of core strength or willpower. So pulling the belly in and up vertical line when it comes to your spine. Start circling out your leg and just bring it away from the midline. Look down, it's going to be less challenging. Look forward. Look at your neighbor 6 feet away. Make those circles. Smile. And then make those circles the opposite way. So you're going towards the midline and then out. Get really cozy through the hip. If you need, there's a wall, there's stable for you for support. Okay, you guys, pull your knee in and up. You're going to take a leg away from the midline and bring your foot to the inner thigh. I'll face you. Foot to the inner thigh. You can also go to the calf or floor. Just don't go for your knee joint. It's not going to be happy. And here's your tree pose. Root to rise. You choose hands to heart. Or maybe expand those branches. Now you have to figure out what kind of tree you are. Are you already blooming? You have green leaves? Or are you still in a stage when it's happening? Look down, look forward or up. And then allow yourself to lose the balance. So you might lean to one of the sides. You might twist to opposite side. You might do something even more creative. You can have those little piano fingers, right? Play, you choose. Something really fast, right? Little spirit fingers. And then close your eyes or just soften your gaze a bit, soften your tail. For 3, 2, and last one, unwind. Shake it out. Only one more side, and then you guys are gonna be ready for some music. Pull your opposite knee to the chest. Circle out your foot. So the ankle joint just got really strong, your roots are strong. And then start circling out your leg. Bring one palm to your belly, one to your lower back. Breathe. Make those circles opposite way. Inhale and exhale. Allow yourself to be and allow yourself to feel again. Get yourself out of that monkey mind. And then pull the knee in and up and away from the midline. Place your foot to the inner thigh, your calf or floor. Draw your hands heart center, shoulders soften. And then create a tree. Remember, life thrives on a change. Create a change, what makes your heart maybe tickle deeper. Try not to be perfectly perfect here. Look down, look forward, look up, you choose. Deep inhale from the earth to the sky. Deeper exhale from the sky to the earth. Close your eyes, hold for 4, 3, 2. Last one, bring your feet hip width, reach your arms to the sky. Inhale 3 times, take the tongue, let it go. Ha! Tiger's breath. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Let it go. Ha! And then one more cozy one. Inhale, lift. Let it go. Ha! Bring your feet all the way together. Slowly, 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 slowly roll yourself up. Lighter, brighter, more present. Ready to rock your Monday evening. Reach your arms to the sky. Embracing those higher frequencies. Bring your palms to your forehead, to your third eye, know the truth. Palms to your lips and speak it. And palms to your heart and feel it. Namaste. Thank you, guys. Hope you feel lighter and brighter now. You're good, right?
Thank you so much, Datza.
Thanks.
Well, I hope everyone is feeling lighter and brighter. And we are, I just wanted to thank Datza. Datza's studio is in East Lake, Seattle. But as I said, she's doing all of her yoga classes online. So wherever you are in the world, you can sign up and take her classes. Just look for Datza Studios, Datza, and you'll find it. I also wanted to mention, I forgot to earlier, that we had that yoga music was for artists that are local to the Seattle area. It's Aaron Jorgensen, Benjamin Marks, Beth Fleenor, and Al Gilliam. And you can follow all those Spotify links to find more of their music. Now I'm going to hand it over to you, Kevin, for a moment.
Thank you. I am, as a board member of this nonprofit organization, privileged to be enthusiastic about giving money and to share that enthusiasm with the entire internet. Earlier, we checked in on our Dots fundraiser today and found out that we were at $3,800 at the moment. I'm amazed at how many of you managed to click the donate button while also doing yoga. We are just past $4,500 raised for Live Music Project through this fundraiser, which is amazing. Our goal is $6,000, as you can see. So we have a little bit under $1,500 left to raise for this cause that we're all sharing together. Please do give money. Giving money is very important to nonprofits. It's because of the nonprofit part. We can support a lot of amazing work with the money that we raise through this. But now we're going to take another quick break so that you all can get another glass of water or whatever else you happen to have. Enjoy the short lines at the bathrooms. Enjoy the clean bathrooms relative to some venues that you might see. I saw someone on the YouTube chat appreciating that. And when we come back, we will have Kymani Thomas on the cello. with a really fascinating piece of partly improvised, partly composed music. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you all. In the meantime, enjoy getting a chance to shake it out, to rest a little bit, and to furiously refresh the live music project Datza fundraiser, and to make that number go up. See you in a couple minutes.
I love live music because it teaches me how to be a person, over and over again.
Live music because you're watching art being created right before your eyes, and in a good performance you can feel along with the musicians, and live music moves me in a way that nothing else does.
I love live music because it gives me goosebumps. There's something about live performance that when you hear something really beautiful, it raises kind of the hairs on your arms. Also, as a musician, playing the fourth movement of Mahler 1, that opening is really intense, and kind of seeing the audience reaction, the gasps, and sometimes a surprise as a result of that opening chord. It's really a delight to actually have that interaction with the audience.
And we're back again. I hope you enjoyed those sentiments about live music. I really love that child, and every time I hear from that child, it makes my heart soar. We are about to introduce to you Kymani Thomas, the cellist, and you may hear a lovely tie-in to our arborist talk earlier when you hear the cavitation recording that might just feature in Kymani's performance. So while Kymani gets set up, I'm going to hand the camera over to Kevin.
Kymani, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're going to be playing?
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Thanks, Shaya. And thank you for having me tonight. It's really a pleasure to see everybody and to hear that brilliant talk and to do a little stretching. So I was inspired by Shaya to think about tree sensation for the performance tonight. I'll be playing a series of pieces without pause for the next little bit. And when I was thinking about tree sensation, before I knew the topic of the talk, I found this article on the scientists that were mentioned that did ultrasonic recording and visualization of the cavitation process that's going on in trees. We actually see the way the water column is broken up by the air bubbles and the conditions of drought. And I was thinking about the article likened it to a heart attack. So I thought, it's another way that we're so linked to trees that even certain processes are very similar. The talk really drove home how dependent we are on trees and how so much of our natural systems and our bodies functioning are reliant upon them, and how trees in so many ways are like our first line of defense, the first kind of thing that is, jeopardized in current climate conditions. So if we can think, I just thought about how the more we sense into trees and our tree self, the more we learn to care for them and realize our interdependence. So that is something that will be running through the pieces tonight. It's a mixture of composed and improvised music based on the talk. I was just taking notes. And so we'll kind of discover together what comes out of that. But yeah, thanks again. I'm going to get set up.
Awesome. Thanks, Kymani. And while Kymani gets set up, I'm going to take this brief moment to check in on that fundraiser and see how we're doing. Operators are standing by. Wait, no, this is the telethon, this is the internet. But I can report that we have now passed the $5,000 mark, and at last refresh, we were at $5,115. Palindromes are great, but please, let's go to the one that's even higher up. I hope that by the time, with the delay, that you hear me saying that number, then you refresh, you discover just how wrong I was in my count, because everyone's just blown up this fundraiser like there's no tomorrow. Which, for all we know, there might not be. Eat, drink, and be merry. For tomorrow, who honestly knows? Thank you again for spending this time with us tonight, and for helping to make the Live Music Project birthday party a great success. And now, Kymani Thomas will play for us. Thanks, Kymani. That was completely brilliant. I loved hearing the recording of the tree sounds at the end. This is a really odd moment in a performance because you'd expect everyone to be clapping, but literally no one can hear anybody else clapping. I expect half of you to be clapping in front of your computers right now.
How about this?
Yay! So, Shaya, I guess you're probably wondering how the fundraiser's doing.
Oh,
as
yeah.
if you haven't been furiously refreshing. But for the conceit of the broadcast, I'm pleased to report that we have blown through our $6,000 goal and have raised over $6,100 for the Live Music Project as part of this birthday celebration. So congratulations to you, and congratulations to everyone who's joined us this evening. Thank you for what you've been able to accomplish together for our community and for access to the arts at a time when a lot of us could really use it.
Yeah, you guys have just been amazing. Your energy and chat has really filled our virtual room in a way that was unimaginable to me before we did this. And so it's been so wonderful to see all your names and your comments and your emojis, and especially that little caterpillar one. That was great. In a moment, we're going to have our LMB classic cupcake toast. But before that, I just wanted to say a few thank yous, and I have attempted to write them down. I want to thank our amazing featured guests tonight, Katie and Katherine and Datza and Kymani. You have been so incredibly flexible with this plan that started out as not a live stream at all. It was meant to be held in a room at the Royal Room. So thank you for just being ready to go all out with a different version and really just embracing that change. Thank you to all of the donors tonight who helped us crush our goal. I kind of need tissues right now, and I'm really grateful. To our board and our staff and our volunteers that make LMP run smoothly day in and day out. This enterprise takes it takes work every single day, and you're all amazing. Thank you to you, our audience, for making this room so special tonight, and being here and being the reason for us to be here. And finally, a thanks to someone who's behind the scenes. You didn't get to see her or hear her tonight, but Megan Enan, our communications and development expert, has been running the entire show from her computer in New Orleans tonight. And without that, this literally would not have happened. So Megan, thank you so very much. Kevin, did we have any other questions we wanted to address while we have the stage?
Well, we had one question from earlier just about the reach of Live Music Project. How many folks do we serve with our calendar every year, Shaya?
That is a great question. We serve roughly 70,000 people every year through our calendar. Wow. Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Good thing we have a whole nonprofit organization and an annual fundraising event to support it.
Yes. It is a very exciting thing that started just from the tiniest little project, and it's been wonderful to see it grow and take hold and take root in our community, and that's just been a great experience.
So Shaya, do you want to wrap us up with the traditional cupcake toast?
I do. I need something important. I'm going to keep talking so you can do your something important. There's my something important.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've entirely missed the cue.
Yeah. Okay. Here we are.
But we're having a little visit from Arthur. This is Arthur C. Shark, everybody. Hello.
Oh, I'm reversed. Just wanted to bring a little bit of our usual stage decor with me into the camera. Here we are. Okay. All right. Ready?
Yeah.
To LMP, to the Live Music Project. Kevin, you're going to need to say something for them to see your cupcake.
Okay, here's to the Live Music Project. Hand-drawn cupcakes and hand-baked cupcakes.
Cheers!
To another great year. Cheers!
We'll see you all in the future.
See you all in the future. And Arthur can eat this one.
Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Good night. Thank you for spending this night with us.